Everyone thought it was the sweetest thing they had ever seen. They were looking at exactly the wrong thing. The baby in the green onesie, and the enormous Bernese Mountain Dog who refused to sleep anywhere else. Two shapes on the nursery floor every morning when Isla Peterson came in. The baby awake and looking around with that wide-open expression of wonder. The dog lying beside her. Every morning for 8 weeks. Every person who saw a photo said the same thing. That is the most beautiful image. Isla said thank you. She meant it. But she was also an emergency room nurse with 12 years under her belt, and something was sitting wrong in the back of her mind in a way she couldn't locate. Biscuit had been their dog for 3 years before Nora arrived. A Bernese Mountain Dog, 97 pounds, the most genuinely gentle animal Isla had ever encountered. From Nora's first day home, Biscuit had positioned himself near the baby with the focused calm of someone who had taken on a shift. Not anxious, not overeager, steady. He had reorganized his entire existence around the location of the baby. Her husband, Kent, found it touching. Her mother-in-law said it was the breed. Berners were known for this. Everyone had a framework that made it make sense. Isla was the only one who kept thinking, but why does he pace before he lies down? Why does he circle the same spot twice before he settles? Why does he wake up between 2 and 3 in the morning and go back to her? She didn't say any of this out loud. She had no evidence. She had a feeling in the part of her brain that had learned to pay attention to wrongness, even when wrongness was quiet. She moved the monitor to a wider angle. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you're in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. The footage from the following Wednesday night showed this. Biscuit awake at 2:11 a.m. He rose from the floor beside the crib, turned toward it, and pressed his nose between the slats. He held that position for 14 seconds. Then he went to the door, looked into the hallway, looked back at the crib, then back to the crib, nose between the slats again. He did this 4 times between 2:11 and 2:44. Isla watched the footage at 6 a.m. before either Kent or Nora were awake. She had a cup of coffee in her hand and she did not drink any of it. She woke Kent. He watched it with her. They both looked at Nora, who was awake in her crib, making small sounds, normal sounds, the sounds she always made. Isla called the pediatrician at 8 a.m. when the office opened. At the appointment, Dr. Yolanda Ferris, pediatrics, 11 years, 2 teaching hospital fellowships, listened to Nora's chest for longer than usual. Then she asked Isla to undress her fully. She examined the chest wall. She asked about feeding, weight gain, whether the baby ever seemed to work harder to breathe after exertion. She used the word murmur. The follow-up cardiology appointment confirmed a small ventricular septal defect, a structural variation in the heart wall that produces a subtle disruption in the oxygenation efficiency of the blood. In mild cases, undetectable at birth. In quiet, sleeping infants, the respiratory compensation is minimal and often invisible. But to a dog whose olfactory system could track the chemical signature of oxygen saturation in exhaled air, the pattern of those 14-second checks between 2 and 3 a.m. was not sweetness. It was monitoring. Has your dog ever done something that only made sense later, when the truth came out? Tell us below. These stories deserve to be heard, Dr. Ferris said. Catching this at 8 weeks is exactly where you want to be. This is manageable. This is a good outcome. She paused and looked at Isla. What made you come in? The dog, Isla said. Dr. Ferris wrote something in the notes. She didn't say anything for a moment. The defect resolved on its own by Nora's first birthday, as small VSDs often do. Nora is now 4 years old. She sleeps in a big girl bed. Biscuit sleeps on the floor beside it. He has never once stopped choosing that spot, even now that the cardiology file is closed and the follow-ups have ended. Isla asked the veterinary behaviorist who reviewed the footage why he had checked so specifically at that hour. She said, because that's when resting oxygen saturation shows its clearest chemical variation in exhaled air. In the middle of the night, when the body is fully at rest and there's no compensatory breathing from movement, the signal is clearest then. He was reading it when it was easiest to read. She added, he knew. He was just working within the only system available to him. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Biscuit will be 7 next spring. Nora has started leaving him part of her toast in the morning. He accepts it with the gravity of someone who has always taken his responsibilities seriously. He still gets up once a night to check her. The next story involves a husky who refused to let a family leave their vacation rental, and what the emergency crew found in the foundation 2 hours later.